Welcome, everybody. This is Darren Klum from Tech Talks. And in today's episode, we have a serial entrepreneur. And there are not very many what I would call real serial entrepreneurs, but you're just a guy that just cannot get enough pain. And so we are here today with Lief Larson. And Lief has been the CEO of several amazing tech companies. He is a true innovator, he's a digital pioneer. He's a kindred spirit. He is a person that doesn't sleep like me. And truth be told, Leaf, I don't know how you've done all you've done in your career because I just look at your body of work and it's amazing. And but without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Lief Larson. Leaf, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, Darren. How are you?
Well, that's a loaded question because, I'm in Minnesota and we've had the snowiest October ever. And I'm just asking myself every day, why am I not like Leaf? Why didn't I escape and go to Seattle? And yet, you get to tell me how wonderful it is out there. How's Seattle today?
It's a gray day today, but we have a little bit of a spotty blue popping out once in a while here. Back in home in the upper Midwest, it's not. I mean, came as a surprise to me that you're getting as much snow as you are, of course. But I think it's just par for the course with 2020, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't
No,
really
it
matter
is.
where
It
you
should
are.
snow this much, right?
It
It
should. I mean, it's
really
just
should.
it follows the logic pathway here. It, we were at the impetus of COVID here in the country, right? We were the first place
That's
that
right.
the first
You were.
case came up, and so geographically, we've had our own experiences here. I don't even know. We might be going into a wave every place in the country here. Another wave, as they're saying, towards the holidays here. But certainly, I think we could be in our third or fourth wave here geographically. And then you've had these, crazy hurricane seasons and all this. 2020 has just been one of those years where I think we're all going to look forward to putting a bookmark on it.
But as we kind of talk and move into what you do and how you do it and how you're surviving through these unprecedented times, because you've got many business interests, and in fact, right now you're CEO of Jenny Life, and you're completely disrupting the life insurance industry. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But you also have some other businesses. You have SalesFolks and really automating and really creating new experiences for salespeople to make them better at their job. And then as well, you have Engage, which is helping people interact better with e-commerce. So as you look at all the things that you're doing, how are you doing? How are your businesses going? And how are you getting through what's really an unprecedented time as a leader?
Oh yeah, unprecedented. I think you can double click on that word, and probably there's some profanity laced ways I could describe that due to COVID here this year. So with Engage, we had a transaction for a multi-million-dollar transaction completely queued up. We had gone through due diligence for that to be acquired, and we were literally close to signing on the dotted line here within hours, if not a day. And because of COVID in February, the timing could have not been any worse, and the whole thing ended up the rug got pulled out from under us here due to COVID and a change in the circumstances of the acquiring company. So yeah, I've been a lot of highs and lows
Uh,
here.
that's a bummer.
Yeah, it is that particular business. We are, or we were at that time, the number one provider of chat technology to the travel industry, and also the number one provider of live chat to sports teams. And what do you think came, to a complete and screeching halt
That's right.
right in the middle of COVID? It was travel and the sports teams. Now, some of our clients, like the PGA Tour, Miami Dolphins, and others, they've sort of come back, in little fits and starts. And so we do see a little glimmer of hope here, but that was completely devastating for that business. But in a complete antithesis of that is the company Jenny. Right now, I'm actually in the chief operating officer role, just to correct it. My co-founder, Chirag Pancholi, and I are helping to co-run the business. He's got the CEO title right now, and I'm working the operations angle of the business. But we had co-founded a life insurance technology company to serve women and mothers. There isn't a large insurance brand that's ever been designed for that cohort. 51% of people are women, and we recognize that there was a huge mortality protection gap here in the United States for women and mothers, and we thought that that was a problem. Why is it that the majority of them don't have any life insurance, and yet they're playing such a pivotal role in their household, from income producer to caretaker to teacher and educator, and so we went out there and built a new type of business to try and help these women and mothers to be able to make sure that they get life insurance and can have that protection for their family. We decided to take a different angle with that. Historically, life insurance was always about sitting down with an agent, and typically you'd go through medical examination and getting blood draws and peeing in cups, and then they use all that biology information to try and make an underwriting determination. In today's world, consumers really have come to expect sort of that Amazon one click and you're done type of process, and so there was no alignment towards this particular product and still having this old outdated experience. And so we decided we wanted to modernize it using AI and ML to try and shorten the entire process. And we were successful in doing that. We built the first native mobile apps where a consumer could come in, get a quote, apply, and be bound to a life insurance policy in a matter of minutes. And through that,
that's cool.
completely exam free. Yeah. And so it really sort of 10x'd the experience over the old process. And that's where I was trying to spend my time, is like, how do you build a company that 10x is what was there before? If it's not 10x, then just less interesting to me as an entrepreneur. Why do it?
Same way. Why do it?
So that was the opposite of engage was this Jenny Life, right? Consumers had the life insurance industry, this $1 trillion business, was flatlined for well over a decade, almost 15 years, with no category growth whatsoever. And I think that consumers were just uninspired. They were looking at the product and saying, why do I need this anymore? And with COVID and the whole zeitgeist around that was, wow, mortality is now dinner table discussion again. It's a topic, and consumers sort of rushed into it. And I think that this is really emblematic of the whole entrepreneurial experience. Is you can work very hard, you can build an amazing product, but there's a certain amount of luck and timing that's involved with this. And we didn't see this coming. We had no idea in January when we were launching some of our new technology with that business. But by March, we were going gangbusters. There were so many consumers not just coming in saying, I want life insurance, but saying, I do not want to go in the doctor's office to give my medical information. I don't want to have a paramed visiting my home, because we were all sort of becoming shut-ins with COVID at that time, and that's continued on here. So we've had just record month-over-month growth with the business.
Wow. Well, by the way, you deserve it. So, I mean, there's not a person I know that works harder than you, and you really, kind of as I've seen with each one of your businesses that you founded, you're a technologist at heart. So you're somebody that really understands the underlying technology, but you're also a business person. So you really think, as a business person, you're thinking about how do we make things better, faster, cheaper, better experience. And I think all your products reflect that. So tell me about SalesFolks, because I know that's your third thing that you're doing, because, obviously one or two is not enough. You have to have at least three if you're Lief. Well, what is SalesFolks all about? This sounds really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole idea for SalesFolks was that I got really frustrated with the cost of sales within one of my businesses. Sales for most companies is their largest cost center. And and I've worked with great salespeople before, and I've worked with, salespeople that weren't so great. And, every one of them is sort of unique and cut from their own cloth. Some of them are super aggressive. Some of them are very thoughtful and deliberate. And I as I double clicked and said, what is it about this function of the business that could be disrupted or changed? I realized that there was a huge opportunity for us to grow the sales force without necessarily having to grow your FTE headcount.
Yeah,
And
that's a
so,
huge cost problem.
oh,
Yeah,
it is. It's gigantic.
living
And
that dream.
it's really hard to do. And, and we have a lot of failures with it, right? You get one or two of the wrong salespeople in your business, and that can determine 80% of your happiness or your misery. And so,
Right.
as I was looking at this, I said, why aren't we crowdsourcing? Why don't we have a cloud-based sales force where you can basically say, here's my company, here's my product line, what companies do you have relationships with in your Rolodex, and how could you help open doors for us, and how could we tap into you as a cloud-based on-demand sales force wherein our company only compensates you based on your ability to bring in SQL, sales qualified leads, to be able to bring in actual signed contracts, or bring in referenceable accounts or customers into this. So basically, it's a pay for performance model. Why doesn't something like that exist? I'm seeing a lot of other departments within the business, from Gusto and Zenefit sort of disrupting the HR department, to 99 Designs disrupting some of the graphic design, area of the business. Why not sales? And it just didn't exist out
Yeah.
there. So I like many things, in life, you experience these problems yourself, and you just get compelled to try and solve it because no one else has. And so I started working on SalesFolks on the back of a napkin with another engineer. So it was just him and I doing the development and programming around it on the early stages, and we just put it out into the market to see if it would work. We were eating our own dog food, so we were using it for one of our other businesses to start with, and then slowly we started to get more client organizations.
No, I think it's a genius idea, and I like what you're doing, and I go, that's something that I need, that I would use for my business. I just think it's a brilliant idea. So as we look at your DNA and we look at what you've created, we look at just this beautiful combination of innovator and pioneer and disruptor. How do you go about starting your company? Because I know there's a lot of people listening right now that say, I got a really good idea. Do I really have what it takes to do this? How do I do it? Where do I start? What's the process? So as you go into making one of these companies, what do you do? What's your recipe? Or is it just literally go for it? Because
Yeah.
everybody has a different path, but how do you do it?
Well, I think the first thing to do is have some self-awareness around your risk tolerance, right? If you are the sole breadwinner for your household and you're working for a large corporation that's, guaranteeing your paycheck, perhaps you want to not take the big leap yet, and you want to start off small and part-time. For me, I've been a career entrepreneur. I originally founded, grew and sold a company, Kiosk Incorporated, kiosk.com, in the touchscreen transactional terminal world. I got into that business when I was in my teens, and sold that company when I was 28 years old. And so I have been a career entrepreneur. This is all I know, is just diving in head first into these opportunities, but other people's circumstances may be different. When I was younger, yes, I think I was a little bit, naive and just really driven by passion, compelled to, build these businesses just based on my need to see them exist. As
Yeah,
I've gotten
yeah,
older,
yep.
yeah, yeah, as I've gotten older, I've matured in a number of ways. I'm in my middle 40s now, and I would say that I have a template that I know can work. I also, more importantly, through failure in the past, I know what doesn't work, and that's helped give me some perspective. And I'm happy to share the template with people, because I think that if you learn and understand this, you too can also sort of jump into that path. And that is, first and foremost, it's around focus and concentration of resources. Despite the fact that, yes, I'm involved with multiple businesses, make no mistake about it, I understand the dilutive effect of having too many quote unquote shiny objects with in my sphere of influence. And so I'm very, very disciplined around staying focused on just a few very important things that matter and putting a significant amount of my time and energy there. Even 4 or 5 years ago in my life, I don't know if I would be in the position to successfully manage a couple of different endeavors. Now, because of time management and how I understand where I'm spending my time, I am able to do that. But regardless of that, I think that the template is fairly simple. When you see a problem and you create a solution to that problem, you've just solved half of the problem of becoming an entrepreneur or building something really interesting. If you are building something that's interesting to you, you end up sort of becoming a solution looking for a problem. You always want to do a real strong gut check there and make sure that you're not in that particular situation, because every time I have been, that has resulted in failure. On the other side of this is, being a true solution to a known market problem, having a good understanding of your addressable market, and then you get to work on actually building that solution. Whether you're doing that part-time or full-time is really, based on your own circumstances. But I can tell you that to give it the best chance for success, having that be all-consuming and just taking up all of your time, resources, and focus is going to maximize your potential for outcome. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, where they sort of misstep, and to a certain extent, I've done this before in my career, is they don't think about really proving an early case of their solution in the market.
I've seen that too.
Yeah. Yep. And so getting to an MVP or an MVF, and for those that don't know the acronym, it's minimally viable product or minimally viable feature set. What you want to do is try and get to that as low cost as humanly possible. I think a lot of people get stuck and spend years of their life thinking, oh goodness, I've got to go raise money. And until I have that money, I can't leave my job, or I can't really build this the way that I want to, because it's going to be resource intensive. I have myself executed on this, and I have helped so many entrepreneurs over the years in really getting back to this core fundamental, and that is get a very simple version of what you're trying to accomplish and just focus on that. Any complexity that isn't necessary is artificially hurting you. Don't accept that. Go back towards simplicity and get that product out into market and test it. And this could be a consumer product. It could be a SaaS software company. It doesn't matter. Get your initial alpha version out there testing and learn and talk with people. Do not make assumptions. You need to get empirical feedback. You need to do primary research from your market, hear them out, listen to them, and they're going to tell you why you're 5 degrees, 10 degrees off of true north. If you're able to do that and have the humility to do that, then you're going to go back, build that beta version of that. And that one is going to actually be your market proof, because then you're going to want to validate it and see, will one person or more give you money for the value that you've built in that particular solution. Once you've been able to do that, and I call that the revenue positive stage, which means you were at zero and now you have some incremental validation in terms of dollars coming in, that product idea has legs. That's when you try and move into the next phase. And that next phase is minimally viable scale, MVS. And that phase is, can I take that solution that I've developed and my proof that someone would pay for it, can I now go out and get 10 or 20 people or customers to pay for that? Can I start to actually get that on some form of a scale trajectory? If you are able to do that, then now you're prepared for some type of a financing option. So that may be adding more features or complexity to go after a bigger market. It may be to help you actually market it and build more awareness around it so that you can even further scale your model. But that's really the inflection point where you would look at potentially financing the business. And a lot of entrepreneurs, way too many, get caught up in, how am I going to fund this? How am I going to go out and raise a seed round? or how can I, mortgage my house and try and get some kind of line of credit, to finance some of this. Trust me, I have looked at hundreds and hundreds of deals over the years, and I've helped dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs. The one thing I can tell you is all of them have in common: you can get that MVF MVP out the door very, very low cost, and until you do that, everything you're making are wild assumptions, and you're definitely stage premature for needing to get more financing behind it. Once you get to that minimally viable scale phase, then you are looking for MVR, which is the next phase beyond that. And that is minimally viable repeatability. Can you take the scale that you found in your model and repeat that over and over into new and larger markets? It may be going from one vertical, your initial beachhead vertical, and then can you take that and repeat that into another vertical? Or maybe it's a geographic market. Maybe you've had some localized success in your local market, and now you're saying, how do I expand geographically? But once you find that minimally viable repeatability and you've got this income coming across those, then it's off to the races. Then you're trying to grow that business as quick and as fast as you humanly can.
Yeah. So Leaf, so now just to kind of paraphrase for the people that just heard all that, because that's a lot of information.
It is.
So you don't want to quit cold turkey. You want to kind of have a side hustle. So if you're working a job right now and you go, you know what, I think I got an idea for a company, your advice to them is going to be create the side hustle, basically do whatever that is on the side to get to a MVP so that there's at least something tangible. Test that with a customer, get them using it, and then from that point, you'll know if you actually have something that's worth being funded. Is that kind of, to paraphrase that properly? Because we want to put this into baby steps so somebody who's never done this before can do it. And so it's don't quit the day job, do this side hustle, get to something working, then get it funded, right? Is that kind of the process, you think?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And sometimes what I see out in the marketplace, as a matter of fact, I see this a lot, is sort of the cart before the horse, in that I
Yes.
have an idea, I want to go out and raise money. The structure, the formality of the fundraising, the only thing that's changed is the dollar amounts. You and I have known each other for quite a long time, and
Long time.
what is now a seed round today, of maybe $2 to $5 million. We used to call that a Series A round, and we've both been around long enough that we've probably even seen some B rounds that were, only
Yes, we
five
have.
million dollars. So, the sort of the mechanics of the raise is the same, but the dollar amounts are different. But it's all about trying to be stage appropriate. I see a lot of entrepreneurs that think they're going to go out there and be successful at raising money because they've got an idea and they need that money to go execute on it. I'm telling you,
Doesn't work that way.
it doesn't work that way. And I want to save
Doesn't.
people a lot of time and energy because they will go out and pound the pavement really trying to work it hard. And then they're confused why they're having such a hard time doing that. For the vast majority of these that are successful, and I've raised multiple rounds of venture capital with multiple companies, over my entrepreneurial lifespan here. And I can tell you that the de-risk piece of this, independent of what stage is, whether it's seed or A or even later, the de-risking part is what traction you have there. That's what it's all about. Get to that traction as early as possible. The further along you can get the business before you have to go out there and try and take on these additional resources. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you avoid dilution, and and you can own more a bigger piece of what you're doing and have a little bit more control over it. But for those in your audience that are looking at how do I build a business along a venture capital type of trajectory, the best thing you can do is go out there and get to revenue positive and start to see a little bit of early scale there, because that really de-risks it for potential investors. And you may find in the course of working from sort of day zero to that point that you achieve that milestone, that what you thought you may need in terms of future resources may not be necessary. The number one area that I push the entrepreneurs that I've worked with into is trying to get customer financing. The best way to
Yep.
solve your
Best kind
problems.
ever.
Yep, it through sales. Get a customer to come on and invest in you, and because you're really getting a couple of things. One, you're getting them as a early adopter, an early majority use case for your business model. Two, they can actually help you with real dollars around this. And the third piece is the overall market validation that's occurring from that is going to help bring in other potential customers. And so seeding the business model with those initial ones is important. I've seen some entrepreneurs, and I don't know why, but I saw this a lot 10 years ago. And then I had like 6 or 7 years where I didn't see it at all. And now I'm seeing it again here just more recently, and I don't know why. But they develop a business model. They sort of anchor around that emotionally and intellectually, and they think that's how they have to go to market with it, and they end up hurting themselves because they're floundering trying to figure out why no one wants to buy it or get into it. In the early phases, it's incumbent upon the entrepreneur to frankly give away the product as close to $1 as you have to be able to get those early customers in the door here. You want to try and get to revenue positive and get them on your side and get them involved. You don't want to charge so little that they don't take it seriously, but you also don't want to charge so much that you're dissuading the marketplace from engaging around your solution. And for every entrepreneur that I talk with, it's all about getting to that first set of customers there and doing whatever you have to seed your model with those initial guys, because they're going to tell you where you're right and where you're wrong, and they're also going to help you to get more dialed in on what your revenue model is. I still to this day have never nailed my my model on the even the first 3 passes. It's
Me
a
either.
very it's a very dynamic thing, right? I mean,
It
we
does.
have to listen, and we have to be constantly changing it. That model has got to be reflexive. It's got to adapt to the conditions that you're hearing back from your addressable market, and that means repricing. That may mean you need to charge one time and only one time versus some kind of a SaaS monthly recurring revenue type of model. Not all businesses, there isn't one prescriptive model that fits all different types of business models. You need to have your customers they'll tell you what they're going to pay for and how much they'll pay for it. Matter of fact, they're very honest about it. Some of them will even tell you when you're charging too little for your product, because it gives them concern about how aggressive you'll be able to be in evolving and developing the product. And I've actually had customers as early or as late as last year tell me, hey, like you're charging a little bit too little for this here.
Right.
What does that mean to your your tech roadmap?
Are you
Like,
going to be around?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly. And so
Right.
you got to listen to those customers.
So Leaf, and this is a great segue because the starting of a business is very hard. Getting it through that process that you just mentioned, which by the way, I've seen myself in starting my own businesses. There's a definite process you go through, and you really have to also and by the way, this is the thing that kind of bugs me that I see with a lot of the startups that I'm seeing today. There's a difference between a real company and a product. And I think there's a lot of confusion between those two things because, you remember quite a while ago, there was what's the app of the week, right? Everybody wanted to invest in a mobile app.
Yep.
And so you had mobile app after mobile app, but none of them were real businesses. And there's a big difference between a piece of technology and a application and a real business. And I think there's I guess a divide between those two things because I see a lot of people that are building a product but not a company. And so I think, how would you elaborate on that? Because there is a distinct difference, and I am seeing now too many people trying to build either technology for the sake of technology or building applications thinking it's a business when it's really not. Are you seeing that too? Because I see a lot of that.
Yeah, I do. I think that they see one little gap, and maybe that inspires them to want to go out and try and productize a solution. I don't know that I'm completely against that if you're able to learn early on. But ultimately, it is going to take a company and various functions supporting that business. You all want to start with at least a product and have something that's out there and working. But absolutely, building a product are two totally different arts and sciences.
Now, also, would you also argue too, though? Because I will say this is that it's really about solving the right problem, because you want to marry the problem that you're solving, and that's what you build the business around. And I think it's the marriage of those two things that creates success. Because if you're marrying the wrong problem, and a problem that nobody cares about, you're not going to make any money. You're going to be a dead company, right? So on one hand, you can have a company without a product. We see a lot of those. And or you can be a product without a customer in a market because you're not solving the right problem. So like I even look at your success, and it's kind of interesting because if I look at SalesFolks, if I look at Jenny Life, if I look at your company Engage, you found very big problems to solve that nobody was solving, and then you built a solution and a company around them, and that's why they're successful. And it's kind of interesting. You in a lot of ways have proven this point, haven't you?
Yeah, I think that I have. I mean, you're only as good as your latest deal, right? And
Oh, that's true.
right now, we're still solving some problems even at Jenny Life. I mean, imagine being at the helm of a company, which I am right now, that's growing over 200% month over month and has been consistently doing so.
Jeez,
I mean,
that's
it
great.
isn't just fast growth; it's a rocket ship. Um, which is great, but it also, there's a whole new set of complexities and dynamicism to it that I and our team have to be adjusting as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs to the business here. The idea that you're going to be a product person, develop a product, and jam that into a slot in the marketplace, and you're going to have a scalable success is, I mean, it's borderline laughable to me. Even with this business, I'm constantly learning and adapting and changing how we have to be doing the business to evolve into our new circumstances. One of the things that I've been dealing with here lately is we did something very unique. We built a teams of life insurance agents, these experts who all have years of experience, and we didn't want to build this traditional boiler room type of contact or call center. And instead, we brought these team members in-house here, put them behind a toll-free number, 855-88-JENNY, and we license them in every state throughout the country, which is almost unheard of to have a life insurance agent that's from one end of the country there. But we wanted to take all of our team members and have them be able to pick up and help any customer from one end of the country to the other. That was part of our evolution, was doing some new things that just have never been done before to try and sort of satisfy the conditions of what it was going to be for us to keep scaling our success and adapting. These product people, they're really good at maybe building this particular solution, but that, as you know, is only one aspect of the overall equation. You have to be able to build marketing and awareness. You have to have a sales function behind this. You have to be able to financially support it. So, the accounting, the models that are necessary around it. And then you also have to have, an IT or innovation function around it that can help it to continue to evolve to, satisfy the needs and conditions of the marketplace as well. And we've been doing that with our business here as well. At Jenny Life, I'm bringing innovation with WebRTC, text, audio, video, screen sharing capabilities into this industry that is usually like 7 or 8 years behind the times. And we're bringing in this new innovation there so that we're not just staying high tech, but that we're actually, basically the future of the model of how you engage with knowledgeable insurance professionals within this environment. And so, I think absolutely, if you're just a product alone, you're going to have a hard time. You may get some initial traction, but you're going to have a hard time scaling it. You need to support it with a business that's covering all those key departments and functional roles in it.
So Lee, for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur now, which is really what I wanted you to talk about today, because I mean, there's a lot of people right now that are maybe out of work and they don't know where they're going to find a job, And so they need to create their own opportunity, which is going to mean they're going to create a business.
Mhm.
So what would you say to that person about your experience as an entrepreneur that will help prepare them for this journey ahead? Because as you and I both know, Leif, this is not easy. And so it takes a very certain type of person and personality that's willing to stick it in and stick it out to be able to hang in there long enough to reach success. Because if you don't have that ability to handle personal stress, financial stress, because you give so much of yourself when you do these startups. What would you tell that person that's thinking about it?
Oh goodness. I mean, there's so many things that I'd want to tell that person, but I mean, right off the top here, it is really, I don't have a lot of advice around the product or maybe even necessarily how they go about building that business, because there's so many different, ways that you can go about doing that. What I will tell you is maintaining top physical and emotional health is so important. You're going to have to be getting used to working extremely long hours. You are
Mm-hmm.
going to have a hard time being successful if this is a part-time effort. I'm not saying that you don't try and get initial proof on all the time that you have available to you, but it really does have to command a significant or the majority of your attention. You have to put significant hours between it. I like to say that I work older, not harder.
Yeah,
But the
me
reality
too.
is, I still work very, very hard as
Well,
well. I still work very long hours.
you work 7 days a week. I
I
mean,
do. I
that's
really
what
do.
I do too.
I don't
Yeah.
shut down, and part of it is because I'm passionate about what I do, but the other part of it is it necessitates it. There's a nurturing phase that every one of these business goes through, and similar to children, it grows and it adapts, and it starts to take on a life of its own, but it doesn't happen overnight. These are many, many years in the making just to even see if you have something viable or not. It's
Mm-hmm.
a long road, and so getting prepared physically and mentally for that is really important. It's not dissimilar to training for a marathon or something else where that you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, and you're going to have to dig your heels in. So I'd say that's one aspect of it, is really just the physical and psychological preparation for it. The other piece here, and I think that this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's having an amazing support network around you.
Yeah, agreed.
My wife, who I've been with for over 20 years, she has been just a, a bedrock for me, just an incredibly stable partner that has understood the ups and downs that come with the territory I'm operating in, and she's always been incredibly supportive. And I don't know that all of us have that, but trying to get smart people smarter than you around you to help advise you, and be able to be an ear to listen to, or to help you avoid some of the mistakes that maybe they made previously. That network around you, I think, is so, so important in setting yourself up for success here. Over the years, I have made a bunch of money, and I've also lost money too. I've
Yeah,
taken,
it ebbs and
um,
flows.
it
Yeah.
does. I've taken meaningful money from angel investors that I returned it to them in the form of a loss statement. I lost all their money, and this is something that comes with this here, to take risks and to go out there. You have to prepare yourself for the possibility of failure. I mean, you can't be naive, right? We all start these businesses and try and go out there and create these things because we're self-motivated to solve problems and to achieve success, and that's why we do it. But at the end of the day, not all this stuff works. And if you're going to go out there and take risks, at some point you're probably going to have other people, it's your parents, or you're mortgaging your house, or you're taking on investor money from other people. You may have a failure along the way there. That has to be okay. You have to understand that can be part of the process. And I've lost people's money. That's a really, really hard thing, to cope with and deal with. And you have to be
It
prepared
really
for that.
is.
That
Yeah.
eventuality is that not all these things are going to work out, and so you're making sure that you're setting expectations correctly for everyone across the board here, and trying to be a good steward with all that, support, whether it's emotional or economical support people are giving you, to try and help you take a shot at it. Just being really, radically transparent and letting them know, hey, this thing can have a negative outcome, but it can also have a positive outcome. Here's why I'm compelled to do this, and here's why I want to get your help. When you can have that type of connection with people, what I've found is that they get really vested in your success, and they're willing to invest both these tangible and intangible assets that help prop you up, particularly during the darkest times. I'm not going to name names here, but I had one period many moons ago where the business was, when they say on death's door or you're not about ready to make payroll, I literally mean we had like 4 hours and we were in big trouble. And I had an investor that came along and, and he slid a check for a lot of money under the door of my office. And I was on tilt, like I was about just ready to lose my, what. And I worked hard, stayed late into the evening, and I'm like, all right, I got to cut off here. I've got to go home and catch a couple winks. And I was walking over to the door there, just worrying myself sick on what I was going to do here. And I look, and sitting right there on the floor by the door was a check from that investor. He knew from having been in the office 2 days prior what our team was going through, and and how we were trying to figure out how we were going to get to the other side of that. And he stepped up in a big way, completely unknown to me, and hand wrote that check and slipped under the door of the business, and it allowed us to be able to to go on and keep pursuing what we were working on, and having a network.
The hair on my arms just stood up because I had the same exact thing. I say I didn't know this about you. I had the same exact thing happen to me. And I'm going to just tell you, it's like it's hard to even explain. It's an emotional thing, right? Because this is real money. People have really worked hard to, earn what they've earned, and they're putting it and entrusting you with it. And here you are on death's door with the business, and out of nowhere comes this check from somebody who really believes in you. Those are feelings that you just never forget, do you? I mean, it's like I remember when I had the same thing happen in my first company, Hardcore. We had an investor that literally came at the time we needed him the most and delivered, and I'll never forget it. He was a dear friend, and just at that precise moment, just that infusion of cash to make payroll. It's like, and so now you're leading into something. How do you handle stress? Because when you sign up for this, you're dealing with real dollars, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with products and timelines and delays and customer problems and financial issues. I mean, when you lead a company, your fire hose gets pretty big, and you need to have a reality check before you start this. Can you handle this level of stress? Because it is a lot of stress, and how do you handle it?
It is, and those who build coping mechanisms, repeating those over and over again, only strengthen their ability to be able to manage and deal with bigger and bigger stresses in the future of their life.
It's like a muscle, right?
It is a muscle. There is muscle memory there. There absolutely is. And I don't know that there is any one specific answer for building those stress relief valves, but I can tell you a couple of them that have been very important to me. One is constantly trying to learn new things, maybe even things that are completely irrelevant to what I'm working on at that time, to keep broadening my perspective. So in the evenings, I always try and carve out time before I go to bed to be reading, whether, it's a new Reid Hoffman book, or, I'm opening up a new book about some new field of science or mathematics. I try and keep my brain really engaged on these other separate topics. To me, they're like mini vacations where I get to take my mind into a new place. That's on the mental level. On the physical level, I do find time to get out there, particularly on Saturdays out here in Seattle. I head up into the Cascade Mountain Range on Saturdays. I get up really early, usually around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I hop in my car, and 45 minutes I'm out into doing, a couple 1,000-foot mountain hikes or climbs, in that area. For me, it's really it just transcends my life and my stresses and all those things, and allows me to really engage myself physically. And by way of doing that, I really feel like I tap into this very healthy mental space as well. Not only does it allow me to purge, some of those stresses and make it really evident that I don't need to take all those things on. I can't own all those stresses. But the other thing it does is it really helps bring me into this creative space that I think we've all, experienced, whether you're in the shower or, you've got a or elevated heart rate, and all of a sudden you start opening up new creative pathways and thinking about new ways to approach things. I like that. Usually when you take your body and really work it hard, it opens up, that creative area. I love doing that every Saturday, and I'm very infrequent that I ever miss it, because frankly I need it.
Yeah, no, and I'm the
Yeah.
same. I'm learning because I haven't taken time for myself, and you're way better at doing that than me. And I'm just go forward every day, all day, day and night, weekends. And I really need to start putting a boundary around my time and making time for me. But it's really hard because I'm one of those where you feel kind of guilty, right? Like for me, I'm like, oh, if I go do this, well, I could have been doing this or I could have been doing that. And but I got to get better at doing that. And and I do live vicariously through you, by the way, because I do see all your mountain climbing adventures, which, boy, I wish I could be doing that myself. But
Thank you.
soon I will be doing that with you.
I have to tell you, I'm looking forward to that. We visited with each other in Minnesota many times. When
Oh
you've
yeah.
come out to Seattle, we always do that, and I'm looking forward to that very much. And I think that you saying, "Hey, I need to reserve some time for me," I think what I don't think I know for a fact that when you do that, it is going to add value back to your businesses and family life and all that kind of stuff as well, because it allows you to self-center your life in a way that you bring new energy to those other things. And we are so compulsive,
Oh yeah.
as we are as entrepreneurs. We do have that huge level of guilt if we ever walk behind, because we think that the legs are going to fall out from under it if we do. But the more that I've done this and tried to find that balance, the more I've been able to refill my own gas tank, so I can come at the business with new energy. And if you don't do that, you're constantly running on empty. I don't think it's helping the business either.
No, that is really true. It is really true. So, well, with that, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for doing this today. And we're going to definitely do this again because we kind of, I think, scratched just the mere surface of what you and I could be talking to. But I think for those that are trying to maybe start a business or thinking about it or maybe have it in the back of their mind, this was just great for, I think, somebody to hear, because I think there's a lot of hard truths in what you've said today, but also ways they can think about how to maybe build their own business. So thank you so much, Lief. You're a treasure, and we love you, and keep doing your great work.
Oh, thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate that. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing there too, and I thank you always for your friendship and camaraderie.
No, vice versa. Well,
Okay.
you take care, and
Thank
we'll
you. You
talk to you
too.
soon.
Talk
Take
soon.
care.
Bye bye.
Blessings. Bye.